Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about From Season 3, Episode 2. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Sadly, we're picking up in, the morning after that terrible, horrendous night, and Jade comes into the barn and finds Boyd tied up, handcuffed, and also Tian Chen's body, and you're just like, oh, the thing is, even looking at her body the way it is, you're like, oh, they went harder on her body than they did her husband's body, and you're like, well, to be fair, they were torturing her. It was more so it was torturing her. And in the process, torturing Boyd by making him watch what they did. And I thought we got away from it. What we saw last episode was all we're going to get. And it's like, nope. The show made sure to let you get a little taste of that. Just to stick the knife in just a little bit. Twist it a little bit. But obviously, Boyd beats himself up the most. Because he's the one, for one, I'm the leader of this place. Everyone's lives are in my hands. I'm the one trying to give people hope. I'm telling people everything's going to be okay. We just have to stick together. And I failed Tian Chen. She was only out there because of me. All the stuff that Donna says, regardless of it was a lose-lose situation. This place is so effed up because it sucks. It's so heartbreaking, that opening of the episode, just because the cold opening, because it's you have Boyd cradling Tian Chen's dead body, and then you cut to Kenny and Jim finding food. So it's this food definitely wasn't there, and it's not too far from where they were. They specifically made that food pop up now, where it's we set Boyd up to make him scared about, the only food you have is about to be, we're using it as bait. It's because they wanted it. I mean, to be fair, Jim already wanted to go back to town, but they wanted to kind of build Kenny up, make him want to come back to town happy. Him and Jim feeling victorious. Hey, we came back with food. Yeah. Just to break them. It's once again just to twist that knife that much deeper when the war. It's once again, it's some Danganronpa crap of, I want you to be filled with hope so you can drown in despair. On some Monokuma type of shit. So. But having those scenes back to back, and before we go to the opening credits, have Kenny smiling, being happy, just to kind of rip that all away from him. It didn't go, because last episode I was saying I figured Jim would have some regrets about it, because he's the one that wanted to go out there to find Tabitha, and it's right. Granted, Kenny made that decision on his own, but it's Kenny wouldn't have even had to make the decision if I hadn't chosen to go out there, and he's the one that later on regretted, but I should go back. My kids are in danger. It's if something happens to me, they're all alone. And while you were out there looking for Tabitha, all that happened. It's you should have been here to hold this down. And that's his biggest guilt from the situation. I'm sure there's some level of guilt about the Tian Chen and all that, because it's I pulled Kenny away from his mom. Yes, he made that choice, but I'm still partially responsible. I'm sure Jim takes that upon himself. But also when Julie confronts him about, you need to get your shit together. I get it. You're worried. You're scared. Your mom might be gone. No one survives that long. It's been days. She went out there without no one survives that long without a talisman out there. So you have to accept the fact the mom is going. But we are here. I was 15 when Thomas died, and someone had to look after Ethan, and that had to be me. I was a teenager too. I was dealing with stuff too. But once you and mom broke down, I had to step up and be the adult. I'm not going through that again. It shouldn't be my responsibility to have to carry that weight, and especially considering she's got trauma associated with I had to step up then, and I'm still carrying that with me. Plus everything she went through recently. It's I was going through what I went through. That coma situation, her, Randall, and Chrissy's SO were under, and now it's and then I had to step up to be a parent while you went off and looked for mom, and it was, she's frustrated, and she was lashing out at her dad. I think she doesn't regret what she said, but I think it's still just, she's dealing with a lot, and she doesn't have anyone to talk to about it, so. Because we don't know what she experienced that terrified her so much. We can see Randall's still rattled, but he still hasn't talked about it. Chrissy's SO kind of hasn't said jack squat either. So either she's just dealing with it in her own pace, or maybe whatever it is that Julie saw might have been worse than what the others saw. I don't know. I wanted to add this in here because it's a very crucial, important detail about Boyd's circumstances at the beginning. I thought it was interesting when you hear him mumbling to himself. I'm like, did he go crazy? And he's repeating something over, and I'm like, oh my god, Tien said something, and he's trying to memorize the words. It's like he's repeating it so he could stick it in his brain so that he could say it to Kenny later on, because he doesn't know what it means, but he knows Kenny would. But he didn't have a chance to really say anything because he's like, once Kenny came back, it's like, yo, we gotta take this slow, because it's like everyone in town has kind of gathered once they found out about Tien. Gotta make the people who robbed her of all the like supplies in town, like, gotta make you feel a little shitty that you did that. Like, not like you knew that she was gonna die, but it still gotta make you feel at least a little bit shitty knowing like, oh, you robbed that woman and now she's dead. It's not there's no correlation there, but it's still gotta be like you gotta feel at least a smidgen of guilt. I mean, other people feel guilt as well, but it's like, because I mean, we're seeing Donna, who's trying to always be the strong leader, is finally breaking down too, because she's like, I'm not mad at you, Boyd. She's like, I'm mad at myself because you told me we were getting out of here, and I believed you like an idiot. And just like that hope is turning into this noose around everyone's neck. It's kept them going, but it's like, has that just, added more flavoring for these monsters, like us having this hope and it being dangled in front of us, and us because once again this place doesn't feed off of fear or despair. Once again, it feeds off of hope, as they were trying to tell Boyd. But I mean, that's the next layer. Like, speaking of that, Boyd feels guilt of, I chastised this place. I was like, you're not gonna break me, and they were like, okay, bet. And they chose a way to do it. And not just me, to break everyone, to break Kenny. I mean, the nerve of the place to play the song, what was it? Was it Celebration? Like, just after like Kenny lost his mom. And it's just like, especially just everything with Kenny this episode. I was on the verge of tears. I had to fight back to tears because it's like every Kenny scene broke my heart. Especially when he was talking to Christy in the diner, and it was like, okay, like, he's like, my image of my dad, it was already rough when I lost my dad. I can't see my dad. Like, the last image burned in my mind of any time I think about my dad is seeing him the way those monsters left him. He's like, I won't be able to survive like seeing my mom like that. So he asked Christy to, spruce, like, kind of do the duties of a mortician and kind of, make her up a little bit. And Christy was like, I don't have any experience with that, but luckily Jade helped her with that in conjunction with Sarah, who brought a dress. And it's like, there's layers to how complicated that is, of Sarah being the one to tell Christy, yeah, Tien Chen died. I didn't know if anyone was going to tell you. And I know how important she is to you because she was just in generally important to you. But I also know Kenny's important to you, so I want to tell you that. But it's also as the person who got his father killed, it also kind of like, not rings hollow. It's just the sad irony of it now. And that's why she recognizes it too, how messed up it is. But it's like her wanting to kind of do something for Tien Chen. It's like, right, we used to kind of play dress up all the time when I worked at the diner. And it was silly, but this is the dress she liked. She said this would be the one she would wear when we left this place. And just like her trying to choke back her tears. Kenny was tired of just sitting on the sidelines, so he decided, all right, let's go into that hole, and I'm going to bring some, like, alcohol, and we're going to burn those things. It's like, yeah, we burned the last one, but that was after it was already dead. But Kenny's like, I don't care. I'm here for all the smoke. I want to burn them. Whatever happens, happens. For him, it's like, what else do I have left? Like, my entire family's gone. I'm all alone. And so Boyd's like, all right, you want to do this? We'll do it. Is this our first time seeing Winter in this show? I mean, they've probably gone through it and stuff like that. They've probably mentioned it before, but in the confines, because our introduction to this place is when Jim and the Matthews came here. So I think this is the first time we've seen Winter here, isn't it? I think it is. Someone can correct me. I don't believe Winter had come up like in the previous two seasons, but like I said, I could be misremembering. I guess it never really clicked in my head to think about the fact is they would have seasons, but, because what is time in this place? I mean, time does still tick on. Obviously, as we see with Victor, he gets older, but it's like, it's all relative because it's like, well, we can know the passage of time, but it's like, it's kind of a moot point when nothing changes, even though things have been changing in this place. Which that's got me thinking about poor Victor. Like, he took it pretty hard seeing the Tien Shin situation, but I think it's also because he probably thought about his mom. Like, he is pretty much in Kenny's shoes. It's like your entire family. Kenny lost his mom and dad, the only family he had here, and now it's like, yeah, Victor knows that. Like, as someone who had to live in solitude for so long, like post losing his family, and so having always been the only one that kind of survives when so many other people have died around, like, it's just kind of like, I don't want to be around anyone, and he disappears. We have no idea where he went to. But he kind of blew up at Ethan, being like, I told you this isn't make-believe, Ethan. This is all real. Tien Shin is dead. She's not coming back. And I'm sorry, but that's the reality of it. Because he was like, right, Chrissy can fix her up. She's going to be okay, right? And even later on when he went to see, he was looking for Victor, but saw Donna cutting up the cow carcass. And it's like, is that what Tien Shin looked like after those monsters did what they did? And she tried to be like, no, it's different. And trying to make him feel okay and be like, hey, just know that Tien Shin loved you very much. And he's like, I know. So the kid handles the situations better. It's just kind of like, obviously in that moment he was freaking out, but after everything with Victor, I think it just kind of like the sad reality of this place breaking you down. Even him being like, just kind of like yeah, I understand. This is what it is. It is what it is. And just kind of accepts things as they are. You just kind of have to in this place. But either way, I got sidetracked. I want to circle back to the Boyd situation. Him and Kenny going to go in the caves. It did bring up this interesting thing. They were like, well, Jade was down there before. He didn't see any of the monsters. So it's like, did they move? Did they relocate somewhere after Tabitha and Victor found them? Begs the question. Did they find another spot, or were they kind of hoping to, no, come down here? Because even Boyd was like, yeah, they want us angry, they want us vengeful, so we're not thinking, and we'll go rushing in, and they can ambush us yet again. But, I mean, these things are pretty smart. Or at least answer to something that's smart, that kind of pulls their strings and tells them what to do, at the very least. Who knows? But Boyd ended up telling Kenny exactly what his mom had said. And essentially Tien Shin's final words were, take care of him. He'll be all alone. And just, once again, that's the moment where I was just had to fight back the tears the most, where it's just like Kenny breaking down in Boyd's arms. And you're just like, oh, God, that sucks. Some other elements, we have Julie talking to Sarah for a little bit, like trying to say like, right, I haven't been quite right. I just don't want to. And Sarah's like, go ahead and say it. She's like, I don't want to end up like you. And Sarah's like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be me either. But it's like, if you want to talk to somebody, and it's like, that's got to be complicated because this is the person that was going to try and kill your brother. So there's that, who inadvertently ended up killing her own brother in the process of trying to kill your brother. But, not like everyone's forgiven her, but it's still just a thing of, she did help out Ethan and Julie last episode. She has tried to help, try to make up for what this place kind of made her into, and Julie's kind of scared of, I'm going to go down that route. And I'd assume whatever she saw must have something to do with her family. The reason why she kind of blew up at her dad the way she did, because it's almost like, you need to be here because I can't trust me, for one, the stress of all this, I'm barely holding it together for myself. I can't be the parent in this situation because that's not me. You guys are the adults. So there's that. But it also maybe some layer of, I'm afraid that if you leave me alone with Ethan, like, maybe this place might convince me to try and kill him like Sarah was trying to. Then there's the Fatima situation, which her condition's been getting worse, to which she's still throwing up, can't sleep, can't eat. Then her mouth starts bleeding, and I start getting worried. I'm like, are you turning into one of those creatures or something? Her tooth falls out. They take her to Christy's SO, who's like, oh, I'm a what did she say? I think she's like a pediatrician, I think is what she was saying, or something like that. And it's like, okay, you're just malnourished, everything's good, everything's okay, let me give you some stuff. And then later on, we see Fatima eating some of like the decayed crops that they were going to like turn into like fertilizer or something, or mulch or whatever. And I was like, interesting. That's why I was like, so whatever's happening in her is like, maybe, because yeah, it was something to be celebrated at the time, but it's like, who knows what this place does to you? Having a baby here, like it turned her baby into a monster. Like, what is it doing to her? Like, has this process happened to other people? It seems, I mean, to our knowledge, we don't know if anyone's ever gotten pregnant in this place before. Seems like it's a first, definitely amongst everyone who's currently here. It's definitely a first, but I'm so curious what's happening there, and just like her chowing down on it. It just feels like, because regular food is made her like she's disgusted by it, but this is appetizing. She's like engorging on it, and you're like, what does that mean? It seems like it's the baby doing that, and if the baby, it definitely feels like a situation of, man, that baby's going to claw its way out of you and kill you in the process. It feels like it's going to be that type of situation. I hope it's not, but it feels like it. Either way, they end up having their memorial service for Tien Chen, and it's motivated Boyd saying, like, right, we can't keep going the way we have been. We've been playing defense for so long, which is exactly what Kenny said last episode, and now it reigns even more true. It's like, we need more information. So for him, it's like, we need to capture one of those things. So he's going to bring Ellis in on doing that. So how you go about that, how do you contain this thing? I was like, have we even seen what happens to them in sunlight? Because obviously they have to, like, they bounce before the sun rises. But I'm like, will they do vampire rules where, like, they burn in the sun? Or do they, like only, are they nothing during the day and then reanimated at night or something? Like, what is that? Like, I'm sure we probably have seen what happens to them during the day at some point in time. If not, I guess this might be the first time we potentially could see that. I don't know how you go about. I mean, it feels poetic to trap one of them considering the ambush and trap they set up last episode. We also have Jim getting a phone call from Thomas at the very end of the episode. It's like, yeah, place finding every angle to attack situations from. And then finally we have this situation with Tabitha where she's with Victor's dad, Henry, who has a loaded gun pointed at her. I mean, granted, he even says later on he's had the gun for like 40 years, but I don't know if it actually is loaded or he hasn't really taken care of it because he hasn't really needed it. So, but yeah, he kept Tabitha there because he had called the cops. Where Tabitha's like, okay, I can prove it. Okay, here's me and my family. Look up Boyd and you'll find out Boyd and his family are missing. She's like, and Donna, and she's like, I actually don't know Donna's last name. So there's that. But then she tried to bring up, Kenny's family too, of being like, okay, these are real people that are missing. Like, but he's like, yeah, you fabricated all of this. Like, how you're telling me all this stuff about my son still alive and how did he gave you this? Like, he thought she was crazy until she brought up the tower thing. And I was like, why is that the thing that convinced you to, like, send the police away and everything? Like, what's going on there? And we find out that at some point in time, his wife, before even finding that place, before even landing there with her children, it was a situation of she was hearing those voices, which is interesting. Like, because the place usually gets to you after you get there, but it's like, the fact is it got to her before she even got there, was even aware of it. Because, like, what ended up sparking all of this is that basically they had given up drugs after, like, Victor, after she was, like, found out to be pregnant with Victor. And then, like, just to kind of sell, like, I was, like, on his 35th birthday, it's like, just before, it's like, that one last hurrah. And after, like, dropping acid, the voices popped up. And she was talking about the children in this place. And he shows Tabitha all these paintings. And it's of stuff related to the place, the diner, the two kids that she was seeing a lot last season, and it's like the kid in white that she keeps seeing. It's like everything related to that place, the monsters, the soldier. I think that was specific, like the soldier that Jade kept seeing. So it's like all of it's there, and it's like at the time it seems like nonsense, but to Tabitha it's like, oh my god, it's real. And it's like, it turns out she was talking about being chosen as someone who could save the children. Apparently, there were other people who attempted to save the children as well. Because that was the thing. Because I forgot, like, the Tien Chen situation probably made Victor think, I think his sister was murdered by those things, or was she taken to the tower? I don't remember. Because his mom disappeared trying to go find the tower like Tabitha did. So, actually, I mean, I'm pretty sure she is dead, but we don't know. But she was saying, like, right, there were other people before her that were chosen, but none of them succeeded. And upon their failure, no one was able to come back. Like, saving the children, who knows what that's really all about and how that ends up being the key to all of this. Maybe that boy in white is one of the children, and, like, maybe he died and his spirit's there to help make sure the other kids survive. I don't know. So it seems like this was all that Tabitha was meant to come here to find and discover. Because once again, this was all stuff that Victor's mom knew before they ended up at that place. And Tabitha, who went to that place first and then was kind of chosen. And now, I mean, once again, the kid said this was the only way. And he needed her to be here to kind of find out her role in all of this. It seems like she is the one that has to save the children from the tower. And it's like, well, can she succeed where so many others have failed before her? So where does she go from here? How does she even begin tackling this situation? What happens to Henry now that he knows the truth? I mean, he has no choice. He's like, right, you could be lying to me, and if you are, tell me now, but if not, the only choice is to believe everything you're saying. And then, you know, going to the basement and showing her all of this. So what's the next step for them? Where do they go beyond this? It's definitely going to be interesting to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.